Hi, this is Scott Hudson from NWA TNA, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Interactive Interview on theinteractiveinterview.com. I'm James Walsh, joined as always by Daniel Edler with our special guest, Scott Hudson. Scott, how you doing?
Doing great.
The first question we got for you is, were you a wrestling fan growing up?
Oh, please, absolutely. Way back, I'm coming up on 39 years old this coming weekend, so I go back to like 1970 and watching Georgia Championship Wrestling, the likes of Dick Steinborn and El Mongol and Danny Little Bear and Big Bill Dromo and Bob Armstrong. Followed it intently, so yeah, big-time wrestling fan.
In terms of college, what kind of training do you have?
I have a few degrees, actually, quite a few degrees, but none of them in broadcasting. I am a criminal investigator for the federal government by trade, so I've got, bukus of degrees in, criminology and criminal justice and sociology and that sort of thing. But the best training you can get for broadcasting is on the job. Just about anybody will tell you that. So I also, while I was going to college, was a disc jockey and a sports announcer in South Georgia. So that's where I got the training to do that. Marrying up being a complete mark for wrestling and having a big enough ego to be a sports announcer, I guess, married those two up.
The first place I remember seeing you was in the Global Wrestling Federation. What is your memory of the GWF?
It was one of the great missed opportunities of probably the last 20 years in wrestling. It hit at the wrong time. If it had started in 86 or 87 when wrestling was hot, or in 96 to 99 when wrestling was hot, it would still be around. But it hit when wrestling as a sport was in one of its valleys, and it couldn't hang around and come out of the valley. But it was tremendously well produced, organized, a good environment, a very intelligent promotion. When other promotions, namely the AWA, the NWA, and the WWF, we're still doing kayfabe stuff. You had to suspend disbelief to an unimaginable degree, and in Global we sort of, and I'm not taking credit for it, but the entire promotion, we sort of started to break that fifth wall to where we would talk about the background of the athletes in other promotions, their Japanese experience, their legitimate athletic background, that sort of stuff, and it was a great experience. Made some lifelong friends there.
How did Joe Pedicino treat you?
Terrific. Joe is the person that actually got me broken into wrestling for the very first time. I went to a Joe Pedicino produced indie show back in 1990 in Carrollton, Georgia. I think it was 89 in Carrollton, Georgia. The ring announcer screwed up 5 or 6 names, and I went to Joe, who I did not know at all other than seeing him on television, and I said, I don't know what you're paying this goof, but I'll do it for nothing, and you're hired. And off we went, and I talked to Joe as recently as last night. I talked to him after every TNA broadcast and get his review and his take on how things went. Great friend.
If I recall, one of your broadcast partners at that point was Craig Johnson, and later on you were replaced, it seemed to be, by Bruce Pritchard, and eventually Doyle King took over the company. Why did you leave?
Well, it was Global Wrestling Federation was based in Atlanta. Not many people realize that. They think it was based in Dallas. It wasn't. It was based in Atlanta. It had an office here and, the whole drill. And everyone would fly out to Dallas every Friday to do television. And when, again, wrestling was in a valley and it wasn't making any money or enough money to justify that expense, so in just cost-cutting moves, they basically said, we're not going to have anybody flying out anymore. And that's when you lost all of the Atlanta talent on the show, which included me and Joe Pedicino and, Mark Bagwell and Scott Levy and Atlanta-based talent, and more concentration on the Dallas-based talent like Eric Embry and Mike Davis, those type of guys. So it wasn't, they didn't ask me to leave. They just said, we can't afford to fly you out anymore.
After the GWF, in terms of wrestling, what did you do in between your time there and when you signed with WCW?
Great question. Thanks. I don't get to talk about this enough. For me, I worked for the North Georgia Wrestling Alliance. My best friend in the world is Stephen Prazak, who worked for ECW during their heyday. And Steve and I did play-by-play, and Steve did color for the North Georgia group. And it was a local indie group, and it was, boy, it was full, populated by some of the greenest talent you've ever seen in your life. But to a man and woman in that promotion, everybody wanted to be there. It was a perfect environment. No one that was there was doing anything. You know, I'm going to be a big star. I'm going to make $1 million. They just did it because they love the sport, and that's what I did from 1991 until WCW called in 1996. That's what we were doing, was North Georgia Wrestling.
Dan, take the next one.
To what degree did you follow the rest of the talent and the rest of the organizations during those years?
Oh, incredibly. There's here in Atlanta. There's a rather large Japanese population, so there are more than 2 handfuls of Japanese grocery stores and retail establishments, and most of them you can get Japanese wrestling tapes there, usually on about a week delay. And so I was watching every Japanese promotion. You know, boy, I can't even, New Japan, All Japan, and all the other knockoffs that came along through there, FMW, UWF, UWFI, all of those. We got to see all of that stuff. We followed every independent group that we could find, and so we followed everything. Everything that was out there. If it was wrestling on television, we watched it.
What led to your signing with the WCW?
Oh man, thank you for asking that question. I don't think I've told this story. Again, I told you I'm a criminal investigator for the federal government, for the United States government. So I'm at our Christmas banquet in December of 1996. In December of '96. And to blow my own horn, I had just gotten the Employee of the Year award. I'm all pumped up and excited, and I sit back down at the table there at the banquet, and the waiter at the swanky restaurant we're holding this thing at comes up and says, "Are you Mr. Hudson?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I have a telephone call for you at the front desk." So I was like, "Wow, it's my wife or my mom, my dad, what's going on?" So I ran up to the front desk, and it was Eric Bischoff, and Eric, who I had never spoken to. I think I maybe had said hello to him at a television taping or something, but never had carried on the conversation, said, "We have a spot for an announcer here, and Diamond Dallas Page says he enjoys your work, and I want to know if you want to come in for a tryout." And, of course, I said yes, and that next Tuesday, 3 days later, I came in and did a tryout and got hired on the spot.
For several years, you worked on WCW Saturday Night and various other syndicated programs.
Right.
Eventually, you got your big break in 1999, getting a shot at doing Nitro, taking over for Tony Schiavone for a few weeks. What is your memory of those weeks, and how did you like working with Bobby Heenan?
Oh, boy. Loved every minute of working with Bobby Heenan. I say that first and foremost. The guy is a stitch. It's like getting a 4-year degree in wrestling broadcasting in 3 hours when you get to do a show with Bobby. My memory of those weeks filling in for Tony were, first off, that was the first time I had traveled with wrestling at all, other than just driving to a TV taping somewhere around Atlanta. I had never been on an airplane. I'd been on plenty of airplanes, but never been on an airplane with WCW to go to a show. So that was the first thing. And the first couple of weeks, it went great. It went really a lot better than anyone anticipated, to the point where Eric initially had said we just want it for 2 weeks to give Tony a break there. And it went so well, and the ratings went up so high. They said, "Well, can you come back for a 3rd week?" And of course, I'm sure, Eric, whatever you need. And he said, "We got to get you off the show." And that's when they had Rick Steiner, just throw me around like a rag doll in there for a little while. But that was a great experience. And I don't know if you guys have ever done television or not, but I had done television for a long time by that point, but I'd never done live television. There is no bigger adrenaline rush in the world than live television.
That's
doing in-studio stuff can't compare. Live television the best thing in the world.
That was actually the next question. Which did you like better, the syndicated programs like WCW Saturday Night or the live Nitro?
Oh, the live Nitro. I mean, the other ones were good, but nothing compares to live television.
Now, you just mentioned the beating that Rick Steiner gave you. What are your memories of that?
Not much. I pretty much blacked out. No. They Eric came to me and said, "This is what we want you to do," and I got together with Rick and I said, you know, I played football and baseball, and so I was an athlete in high school and college, and said, "Don't worry about me. You know, I can take whatever you dish out. So just, you know, make it look as real as you want. I can take it." And you know, "Are you sure?" "Sure, I'm sure." And he went in there and he really laid them in and really thumped me around for a while. But the one thing I remember was when it was all over, they carted me out in an ambulance and off we go. The old standard wrestling shot of the ambulance pulling away from the building with the injured injured person in the gurney. Off we go, and then I got back to the building and called my mom. My mom passed away a year ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I called her, and she was just in a panic because she was watching the show and she thought it was real.
Huh.
You know, and actually the way it was done, it looked real because, you know, he didn't pull any punches or anything. But I'll give you one quick story. When they did all this, and they pulled Rick off of me, and I'm laying in the ring, and I realized that I'm alive and uninjured. The first thing, the floor director comes in as the lead EMT guy, and gets right in my face and says, "Don't laugh," because it must have been written all over my face, and I was so relieved that I lived through it that I was about to smile. He said, "Don't laugh," because the camera, like 2 inches from your face when we come out of commercial. So I remember that.
Many of our guests have come on and said how out of control WCW began to get towards the end of it. How out of control, in inverted commas, was it when you started your stint in 1999?
Yeah, the difference between when I got there and when I left was the difference between night and day. And it was and the big difference, or the cause of that, was the business. I mean, when I got there, we were just starting a good run, and it wasn't because I got there, obviously. I'm not crazy enough to take credit for that, but, you know, it's just, we went crazy. In 97 and 98 and 99, we rarely played to an empty seat, and I think we went for 4 or 5 months maybe where every show we did, spot show, TV taping, Nitro, pay-per-view, Clash, was sold out. And when business is going like that, everybody's happy. And then when business started going south, everybody starts panicking. And the high of good business is equal to the depths of bad business, and that's what drove WCW out. And to give a cause, if that's your next question, if I can jump start it here, the problem that we had, and Eric Bischoff, who I adore and would never say anything bad about, I think he would agree with this. The problem was when things were so good, we thought it was going to stay good, and we started giving contracts out for ungodly amounts of money, which in and of itself isn't the problem, but we gave guys what they call creative control over their character, to where they could say, well, I'm not going to work these shows, I'm not going to job to this guy, and it was incredibly difficult to book storylines when you had talent that just didn't want to do what they were told. When business was good, everybody did what they were told, but when they got the little bit of opportunity to say, no, I'm not going to do that, they all said no. And it was just impossible to book quality episodic television, you know, when you've got talent that just doesn't want to play along. It'd be like Friends, you know, the cast of Friends coming in, and they say, we're going to book, you know, the whole season is going to be, you know, Ross and Rachel's romance, and then have Jennifer Aniston come in and go, I don't think I want to do that. And then you've got, well, we've got a whole season written. Well, that's too bad. I'm not going to do it. That's pretty much what we were up against.
To lighten things up a little bit, I remember a promo you cut promoting the WCW hotline where you basically did the Godfather's Pimpin's Not Easy.
I love that.
Yeah, you did that. My question is, did you get in trouble for that? And at any point, did you ever get in any trouble for copyright infringement like you joked about?
No.
Never?
Never. Never. If it's done as a parody or a satire, or in my case, an homage to Charles Wright, who I've worked with in Global. Never got heat for it. I'll tell you one story. The closest I came to getting heat for that was when Mike Tenay and I, and Mike is just a saint on earth, by the way. Saw him last night at TNA. He's a great guy. When he and I were doing WCW Saturday Night, we would have to do a 1-minute commercial for the hotline, and we had to improvise it. We never had a script. So I finally got to the point where I just couldn't make up any BS anymore. So I just said, Mike, play along with this. And I did the whole thing. I said, Mike, do you have a telephone at your house? And he looked at me and he goes, a telephone? Of course I've got a telephone. I said, it doesn't matter if you have a telephone at your house. When you get home, I want you to take that telephone. I want you to polish it up on the end of the whole rock bit. And Tenay told me that a couple of weeks later, he's in, I think it's Toronto or Montreal at a hockey game, and he's in a luxury box with Wayne Gretzky and Hulk Hogan and a couple other folks. And Rock comes in. WWF was in town. And he comes into the suite and doesn't go to Gretzky, doesn't go to Hogan, goes straight to Tenay and says, tell Scott Hudson to get his own material.
Wow.
As close as I ever came. And Rocky said my name. That's great. I love that.
What did you think when Vince Russo came to the company the first time?
I was really pumped because I knew what Vince had done in the WWF. And WCW, at that point, we all knew what the problem was. It was, having, talent who just didn't want to do what they were told and having some ego problems and that sort of thing. So when Vince came in, we were hoping that we didn't question at all that Vince and his creativity could save the company and resurrect that portion of the company. It was, could he crack the whip enough to get the talent in line to do what he wanted? And I think and Vince will probably say the same thing, when he came in, I don't think he knew that was the problem. I think he was of the opinion that they just need new creative juices, and I admit, and he was, but it didn't change as far as, getting cooperation. So I was pumped, and Vince did a great job. I don't see anything negative about Vince Russo either. He did a wonderful job, and some of his ideas clicked, some of them didn't, but that's what Crash TV was all about. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't, forget it. If it does, you keep going with it. But, again, when you had some talent who didn't want to do what they were told and, had some egos getting in the way, that snake bit us.
I can remember sitting there watching the Sold Out 2000 preview show, and it seemed like you and Mike Tenay were searching to find things to talk about because you really didn't know what was going on. Was it really as out of control that night as it appeared?
Yeah, that's about right. That Sold Out show, that was the first NWO pay-per-view, or I guess the only NWO pay-per-view, right, where it was all NWO guys.
Right.
And they actually had Eric and somebody else doing the announcing for the show. I can't remember who.
Ted DiBiase.
Yeah, DiBiase. Thank you. I think Jeff Katz doing interviews.
He was doing some kind of a beauty contest, yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy. But it was one of those things where, and this is my opinion, where they thought that if they hung the NWO tag on it, it would work, whether they planned it out or not. And they didn't plan it out, and it didn't work.
How about the Sold Out 2000 one when that whole thing came down with Benoit and everybody leaving too? I think you called it the Black Sunday on a Nitro episode once.
Yeah, that was scary. I'll be the first one to tell you and sing from the mountaintops that I think Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit are two of the best wrestlers ever to lace up the boots ever. And not to slight Dean Malenko or Perry Saturn, but Eddie and Chris are just so head and shoulders above almost every other guy in the world in the ring. It was a tough break to lose them, and I would like to say that was that we saw the handwriting on the wall that night, but we didn't. We thought that at that point we had Goldberg going pretty good, and so we thought, well, we'll just ride this Goldberg train for a while, and and then it just didn't work. But in hindsight, it wasn't so much losing Eddie and Perry and Dean and Chris. It was what that exemplified, the mood in the dressing room, the confidence in the company. We could recover from losing those four athletes. It'd be tough, but we could. but just what that was a symptom of, we couldn't recover from that.
What were your opinions on Kevin Sullivan's booking?
Kevin never, when I was there, Kevin was never in charge for more than, 2 or 3 weeks at the time. So it's not fair to gauge Kevin's booking ability when he never really got the shot for a length of time to where his stamp could be put on things. But over the last 20 years, I enjoy Kevin's work a lot. I grew up in South Georgia, so I got to see the Florida Championship wrestling stuff also, in addition to Georgia. So in the mid-'80s, I saw all of the Abuda Din and the Purple Haze and all of the Fallen Angel and all of those, Meha Singh, all that stuff. So Kevin, when he's given the book, is a very creative guy. He's also a very, very smart guy when it comes to in-ring psychology.
What is your memory of the April 10th Night World Change Nitro?
It's like my dad died.
Right, I know that.
That's my first memory. But it was also my first Nitro. That was a big night. At that point, we didn't know what we were getting into. That was my first Nitro, and although I had worked with Tony, I don't know how many times doing other stuff, but it's live television, working with Tony, it's Nitro, it's Vince and Eric, coming back and stripping the titles and everything built up to that show, and I thought that show knocked it out of the park. I thought that we laid a perfect foundation that night. It's just a shame that we couldn't build on it. It just seemed like after that first hit, and it seems like we had a pay-per-view the next Sunday.
You did,
like
yeah.
A week to build a pay-per-view.
Right.
And it was a terrific start, and it should have worked. But again, you had the ego factor playing in, and that hurt the company, killed the company.
You just mentioned being brought in as the announcer on Nitro again, and Bobby Heenan, when we interviewed him, told us a story about how Tony Schiavone would put down his head during broadcasts. Was it still as fun for you as it had been in the past?
Fun for me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Bobby's story is notwithstanding. Bobby is not one to that I know of to make stuff up, unless it's certain. Well, can't tell those stories on the air, but you get the idea. But if that happened with Bobby, or if Tony did that type of stuff with Bobby, so be it. But he never did that with me. He was a terrific broadcast partner, offering timely and sage advice during the breaks, and a total professional.
What is your memory of the Bash at the Beach 2000 when you guys were pretty much put right on camera after Hogan walked out?
Oh man, guys, I'll tell you, I'm still a mark. I'll never deny that. If somebody wants to try to cut me down by accusing me, you're just a mark, you're right, I am. And just being in the building to watch that go down would have been enough. But to have a live mic and to be able to react to it, and I will say straight up that I don't think we did a good job of explaining what happened, because we didn't know. That was a shoot from start to finish, and it's a once in a lifetime experience. Well, it'll never happen in wrestling again. I really don't think we'll see it on a grand scale like that again, where you have just a complete, I don't want to call it a double cross, but just where everything falls apart like that. And to be linked with that moment, it may sound very strange, but I'm proud that I was there for that. That Tony and I are linked to that segment, because it was one of those moments in wrestling that everyone remembers. It's kind of like Montreal with Shawn and Fred and Vince.
Right. Deviating from the script, right?
Exactly.
Hold on,
And I got to admit, I love that type of thing. Not to the extent where it screws up a pay-per-view and a 3-month storyline arc or whatever. But when things go off script and you have to fly by the seat of your pants, that's a lot of fun.
When WCW closed, I remember yourself and Mike Tenay signing off on a broadcast of Worldwide. Did you know you'd be working for WWE at that point?
No, did not. When the buyout happened, we were unemployed. Mike, that was his career. I always had my real job, so I knew where I would be the next morning. I was back in my office. But for Mike, that was his career, and he wasn't worried. Mike's a pro and can do a million different things, none of them related to broadcasting. So he had no worries either. But we didn't know. And when the WWF came calling, let's see, that was March 26th was the last Nitro.
Right.
And when the WWF came calling in June and had us all in for auditions and interviews and whatnot down at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel down in Buckhead near downtown Atlanta, I actually thought, well, this will be fun. I'll get to see Jim Ross and, see some of the guys again, but, they're not going to be interested in me. So, no, we had no idea.
How did you enjoy working for the WWE?
Terrific. It was a lot different than WCW on just about every level that you can imagine.
How so?
No negative experiences there. I just know that those are some of the hardest working people that I've ever seen in my life. And I don't mean the wrestlers. They're hard working too, but as far as the crew and office people and, there's something to be said for a company having one man to answer to. In WCW, even when Eric was in charge, it still wasn't his company. He was just an employee like the rest of us. That's not knocking him, but that insulates you just a little bit from that camaraderie of a family, of a business family. In the WWF, it's that way. It's Vince's show, it's Vince's company, it's Vince's money. So that no matter what, there is an end to everything. If you disagree with your superior, go above his head, go above his head, go above his head. In the WWF, you don't go any higher than Vince. In Turner, you could have gone for years and never hit the top.
As an announcer yourself, obviously, you probably have a better perspective on all of the WWE announced teams at the moment. Who do you feel have the most potential from the younger talents, and who do you respect the most out of the WWE announced teams?
Respect is Jim Ross. You can't do any better than him. He has earned a place among the greats. The Lance Russells, Gordon Soley's, Jim Ross. He's right up there with them, and he earned it. He isn't just because he's the lead announcer on the #1 show for the last big company. He earned it from UWF through WCW and up to the WWF. He's earned that spot. I enjoy Michael Cole's work a lot. I think Michael Cole and Taz should buy each other really big Christmas gifts every year because they each bring out the best in each other. And not to say that either couldn't work with another announcer. I would assume they could, but they gel so well together and play off of each other so well. I enjoy their commentary a lot.
You had an extremely short stint under the WWE contract. Why was this?
I'm sorry, the last part?
You had an extremely short stint with the WWE, and
right.
Why was that?
They called me and said they wanted to do the invasion angle, and they wanted to know if I would, be a part of it because I was associated with Nitro, obviously. I said, sure, what do you want me to do? And they said, well, can you fly up, this was a Tuesday, can you fly up Thursday to do a tryout? And let me tell you what, I met with Kevin Dunn. It was Kevin Dunn that called me, who, I don't want to slight Kevin. I guess he was the executive producer then. I think he's like a senior vice president or something now. Another incredibly hard-working guy. Called me, flew me up there, and I did a days-long tryout. And I mean, they put me through the ringer. They don't play around. I was calling matches in the studio with Michael Hayes. I was doing spot show specs and a stand-up booth. I was, you name it. I was doing all of it. And after like 5 hours of this grueling stuff, he brought me into his office, Kevin, and said, well, you passed the test. You're just what we're looking for, and basically, made me an offer. But it involved me quitting my job and moving to New York, and I couldn't do that. And I told him, I said, I can't leave my career, and I've never lived outside of Georgia. I'm not going to uproot my wife and my daughter, from my parents and my wife's parents. So thanks, but no thanks. He said, well, we still want to use you as part of this invasion thing. I said, well, I'll do that. You just tell me what you want me to do. And he said, well, we want you to come in for a couple of weeks and do blah, 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 exactly what you saw me doing. So what I did was everything they ever wanted me to do. Unfortunately, that involved Booker T and Mark Bagwell on Raw. But,
wow.
Boy, you don't want to see a grown man cry.
What was it like trying to call that match?
Oh, thank you very much for bringing up such a painful memory. Oh boy, my God, I wouldn't know how to describe it. You just had two guys who weren't ready, and I don't mean Arn and I. I think we were ready, but Mark and Booker. Booker hadn't wrestled in a while, had some ring rust. Mark was out of shape and had ring rust, and I don't know if he, had his head where it needed to be at that point, and it just, it's like calling a one-horse race. What do you say? I say, fans, you're seeing the same sucky match that we are. Flip over to Channel 8. Maybe something's good on PBS. What do you say?
Wow.
How did Marcus Bagwell react to that sort of match?
Boy, I don't know. Honestly, I can tell you straight up, I don't know that I've seen Mark since then. I know he's worked, obviously, but I don't think he and I have been on the same show since then. So I don't know how he reacted. I didn't see him after the match backstage. I know that everyone, it didn't take 5 seconds to see that match was a tragedy. And so I don't know that Mark hung around to get a critique after that in Tacoma.
More recently, you've been working with NWA TNA doing the backstage interviews. How have you liked working with TNA?
Oh, fantastic. It's not like WCW at all in that it's live, which I adore, and there's no politics, there's no egos. There is politics and there is egos, but it's so minuscule and so not a part of what you see on the air that the atmosphere, it's like a family, and again, because it's not a wholly owned subsidiary of some multinational company, it's like a family, and you show up and everybody's giving you hugs. Hey, how was the break? Because it's been, 3 weeks since we were there. And, hey, what'd you do during the break? How's your wife? How's your kids? That sort of stuff. It's awesome. And getting to work with Mike Tenay again, who is just, one of my best friends in the sport. And getting to know Don West, who I think is really doing a wonderful job in the color role and has come so far and grown as an announcer in the year and a couple of months since he debuted. It's a lot of fun. There's again, no egos, no inflation, no self-aggrandizement. It's just going to a show and having a lot of fun.
Do you see it taking off?
I see it. I see it staying around for a long time. It'll take off if they can get a TV deal on a good-sized cable network. If they could get, name the cable network. Wrestling's only on Spike TV now, so there's a million other cable channels out there. Just find one. If they can get on that with a good time slot, they'll take off. They've got the talent. Well, we've got the talent, I should say. Here I go talking about family. We've got the talent.
I've got a few questions now for you from the chat forums.
Sure.
First of all, they'd like to know, what do you think of the new younger talent TNA has developed, such as AJ Styles, Michael Shane, Frankie Kazarian, and Trinity?
Trinity. Yeah, wow. Didn't expect that one. Love Trinity. What a sweet girl. She's not the best athlete of that bunch you just rattled off, but she's not far from it. She's all right. She can go. She's not just there for looks. But you just named 3 of them, and you add Chris Sabin to that list also. Frankie Kazarian, Michael Shane, AJ. I've seen AJ for 3 or 4 years now, maybe more than that, because he was in WCW right there toward the very end with Air Paris in the Air Raid tag team. But AJ has come a long way. He's such a good talent and such a good guy. I don't want to talk out of school about AJ, but he's one of these guys, doesn't swear, doesn't drink, just a good kid. And that's where TNA is going to excel, in that they are bringing in the younger guys with a very exciting ring style. And the WWE, to their everlasting credit, I think they've seen what TNA has done, and they'll deny copying TNA, and I don't blame them. But TNA comes along, and then you start seeing the WWE start to push Randy Orton and John Cena, and Brock Lesnar was already getting the push, but the guys they had in developmental territories, Heartland and Ohio Valley, started getting brought up a whole lot sooner when they saw what TNA was doing with the younger talent. WWF saw that, hey, this isn't a pig in a poke we've got down there. We can actually build some young people and bring them up.
Do you feel that maybe directly the TNA product has increased the possibilities of pushing younger talent in WWE?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like ECW pushed the WWF into the Attitude Era. I don't think Paul Heyman gets nearly enough credit for his impact on wrestling with what he did with ECW. He changed the face of the WWF. I mean, we went from T.L. Hopper and the Goon and all that stuff to the Attitude promo overnight, and I think that was a lot of Paul Lee. And I think what TNA is doing, showcasing the younger talent and mixing it in with the name talent and elevating people slowly up through the ranks. I think that's what the WWF is seeing, that you can draw a consistent audience by doing that. That the wrestling fan now is saying, yeah, it's the same people over and over again. Let's see somebody new. And then TNA gave them new people, so the WWF said, okay, great. Here's some of our new people.
Another question from the forums is, would you ever like to be approached to be an announcer again with TNA? Possibly even a three-prong tag team with Mike Tenay and Don West, or just long Mike Tenay with yourself?
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's like I tell the people backstage at TNA. I had my run. I had 5 years with WCW at the top of the sport, and got to live my dream. And like I said, I'm almost 39 years old, so it's not like I'm an old guy, but there are younger guys out there who may want the same spot, and I don't aspire to to bigger and better things. I just want to have a good time in my favorite sport, and as long as I'm doing that, I'm happy, and I'm happy right now.
Another question that comes from our chat forums is that would you ever be interested in doing a managerial role as a mouthpiece for perhaps a young wrestler who isn't as good on the microphone as yourself?
Oh, well, thank you very much, for one thing. Oh, sure. That'd be fun. Actually, I thought about doing that. Back in the early 90s, when I was a parole officer for the state of Georgia, I told the promoter there for that North Georgia group, let me be a manager, and my role will be I'll be his parole officer. I bring him out in handcuffs, and every time he starts to break a rule, use a closed fist or pull hair, I wave his parole certificate. Like, if you do that, you're going back to jail. Oh, yeah, I would love to do a managerial thing, but only if it would, not impact announcing. Announcing is my first love, and I wouldn't sacrifice that for anything, for any character.
And the final question I've got from the chat forums for you are, would you ever like to work as a sort of a heel announcer / heel interviewer type?
Terrific question. I did that. I mentioned before my mom passing away about a year ago, and I live in Atlanta, and she still lived in South Georgia, and so I would go down to South Georgia pretty much every weekend, or at least every other weekend. There was a group running down there called the South Georgia Wrestling Alliance, running about an hour away from my hometown, and they asked me to come down and do commentary over the house audio. They didn't have television; they just had, house audio. You know what I'm talking about? So
right.
Calling play-by-play for a house show.
Right.
And so I did that, and they asked me to slowly turn heel. And so over a couple of weeks, I turned heel, and for a month and a half, I guess, I was a heel play-by-play announcer, and it was a lot of fun. Boy, I tell you what, they take their wrestling seriously down there, and they draw about 200 people a show, and I think 198 of them wanted to kill me at the end of the night. So that's kind of scary. So, but yeah, I'd do that again. I'd do anything. Just.
All right. I'm not sure.
No ego.
I'm not sure if there's anything here, and we had a big discussion on the forums earlier today about last night's TNA and how Piper looked. How was Piper acting backstage?
Roddy is he's an old school guy. He's not going to be one of these guys like the ones you named earlier, like Chris or Frankie. or Michael or AJ, who were so respectful of even me, and I don't think of myself as some sort of, old war horse. They call me Sir and Mr. Hudson and that sort of thing. Roddy's from a different school, and he pretty much kept to himself last night. I think the only time that I saw him was when he came out to go do his promo. When he finished his promo, he came back and went back into a closed locker room, and there are no locker rooms there. It's just one big open area, and he went into the only closed-off office and sat there, or had some other folks in there with him. So he kind of kept to himself a lot. So I couldn't. I saw how he looked, and he's looking older. He's nobody's getting any younger. But as far as how he was backstage or how he looked close up, I couldn't tell you. I think I shook his hand and, hey, Roddy, and that was it. But, yeah, I did notice that a lot more lines in the face for Roddy. But he's still tremendous on the stick. And some of my fondest memories of Georgia Championship involve Roddy Piper.
If you were given the opportunity to join in the booking team in TNA, I'll open this question up a bit wider than I was going to. I was going to say what sort of feuds and angles would you develop? But I'll open it up to and who might you bring in from the independent scene?
Oh boy. Well, the thing is, they bring in just about everybody from the independent scene that's out there. I mean, every person that I read about in the Observer or in the Torch or in Figure 4 that I hear about on the indie scene who's really knocking it out, they've been there at least once. So they give a shot to everybody. I guess TNA doesn't make, and I stand to be correct, they may have some grand plan about this, and I might be shooting myself in the foot, but they don't make enough use of women there. You don't see, women valets or women wrestlers. They did the thing with the bitch slap crowd there for a few weeks. Right. They've got some really talented ladies there. They have Athena, the goddess Athena, who works the Tennessee indie circuit. She's there every week, and she's a great talent. And at TNA, she's a ring girl.
Right.
They've got Valentina, who used to be what was her name? Was it Lizzie? She wasn't Lizzie Borden. I can't remember what her name was in XPW. She lives in Nashville, and she's there every week. And
I know who you're talking about. I just can't think of her name.
Yeah, I can't.
Is it J-Love?
What's that?
J-Love, was it?
Yeah, J-Love. That's it. Yeah.
There you go.
J-Love. She's there every week, and I think if nothing else, they're just missing an opportunity to entertain the fans. Now, Athena and Valentina aren't gonna, they're not gonna put on a 60-minute Iron Man match like Lester and Angle are, but they can entertain the crowd because they're both good workers, and they're both beautiful, and they can flop around the ring and actually do moves, and so I would like to see them make better use of women in TNA. But again, they may have some grand plan where they're going to, or they never are, or something like that. So I hope I'm not fired because of that comment. But that's one thing I'd like to see.
Were you around for the Desire injury?
I was there, but I didn't see it.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the sad things about TNA for me personally, is that when from the first show, Tony Schiavone and Stephen Prazak and I drove over to Huntsville and were backstage for the show. After that, I bought every show. I haven't paid for anything in wrestling, and I don't know how long, except I paid for every TNA show,
right?
Except for the first one from the very beginning. But when I started working there, I don't get to see the show. Because I'm backstage or I'm having to run around from.
I'm fairly sure there was a dark match.
I mean, it could have been, but I'm still
backstage
busy doing other stuff.
Right.
So I don't know, but Kim is a tough girl, and she's been back 2 or 3 times since the injury, and we were told that she was, on her way back, but I haven't seen her there in, a month or more.
James, would you like to take the next one?
Sure. What is the future for Scott Hudson?
Oh, boy.
That's the most hated question. I want to throw that in there. That's the most hated question that we ask guests.
No, that's all right. That's fine. I'm a dedicated civil servant to the citizens of the United States as a criminal investigator. I'm a dad and a husband and I am having the time of my life in TNA, and anything I get to do in wrestling, where it's, doing Nitro and Raw, Thunder and SmackDown, down to doing, the South Georgia Wrestling Alliance in Jessup in a high school gym, I'm having the time of my life. So as long as I'm with my wife and with my daughter and doing wrestling, man, I've got the perfect life. I can't complain about anything.
Dan, would you like to take word associations?
Yes,
Sure.
Just before I give you the word association, so one final question.
Sure.
I'm sure the forums will... They didn't submit it for this one. I'm not sure why. I think they probably just presume we're going to ask you, but...
Well, I presume I'm going to flip out and yell at them. But that's another story.
You will, because you really hate this question. But they ask pretty much every single guest,
Okay.
would you go to, or would you return to WWE under the right circumstance? And as for you, I was thinking perhaps should they offer you sort of a role on maybe the syndicated shows or whatnot, where you'd only have to sort of fly out and record once or twice, maybe 2 weeks or something.
Yeah. Under those circumstances, yeah. I mean, I have no problem with them. If they wanted me, first off, that's a huge if, because I think they're set. But if they wanted me and thought that I could help the company, and it didn't involve me quitting my job and moving to New York and all that, and I could, if they would, boy, here you go. Well, flag the tape. Here we go. If the WWF produced the show, send it down here to a production house in Atlanta, let me go in, with whoever that I'm doing color with, and do the play-by-play on the show, sitting in the studio, and then send it back to them, I'd start tomorrow. Sure.
Wow.
But I can go ahead and tell you right now, there's no prayer in this world of that happening. But no, I have, as far as I know, I don't have any heat with them, and I enjoy their product, and it's not there was nothing, no hard feelings when I left there, so I guess that's still the case.
Now we're going to go for the word associations, if that's still okay?
Sure.
Excellent. Okay, if you respond to the name by either giving you can give one word answer, or if you've got a story you'd like to tell, then by all means go ahead with it.
Okay.
First on the list we've got Tony Schiavone.
Underrated.
Eddie Gilbert.
Oh boy, missed greatly.
Bobby Heenan.
Wow. Funny on many, many different levels.
Mike Tenay.
Brilliant.
Larry Zbyszko.
Also brilliant.
Sting.
Wow. One of the last good men left in wrestling.
Vampiro.
Underused and talented.
Jeremy Borash.
Jeremy Borash? Oh man, also an underrated talent. From hearing him do the ring introductions at TNA, that's one of the things my wife has mentioned from watching TNA. When Jeremy does those things, she said, he's really good. And Casey, my darling wife, for her to say anything good about wrestling is a step in the right direction, and she likes Jeremy.
What is your memory of WCW Live, if I could just throw that in there?
Oh, God. What a great time we had on that show. I was always there, even if I wasn't on the air. I was usually hanging around there, on Mondays anyway. And when the show was over, when Nitro was over, Tony and I, thank you and good night. Boom, we're out in the computer room as quick as we can run backstage, watching the chat room, seeing what the fans thought of the show. So Jeremy Borash and Bob Ryder are great guys who really worked hard for WCW back when we were up and running. That what they did with WCW Live was groundbreaking. I mean, now you've got Fight This with the WWE, and just the way the internet has exploded with professional wrestling stuff. Bob and Jeremy were there, not first, but before most of the ones that are here now.
Next name on the list was Bob Ryder.
Bob Ryder, wow. Other than what I just said, a great guy and a good friend, and I think dedicated would be the word to describe Bob. He's probably as close to as big a mark as I am, and he might actually be, he might have passed me here recently. Another guy who does it just for the love of the sport. Thank God for him.
Another question I'd quickly like to throw in is, do you think an NWA TNA version of the WCW Live programming, format would sort of would work? And would you like to be involved with it?
If they had more programming. They do Explosion and they do the weekly pay-per-view. If they had maybe one other show, if they had, again, an outlet on a cable channel somewhere where they could, justify doing that. They've certainly got the talent to fill up weeks and weeks and weeks of broadcast time, an hour with AJ, an hour with Vampiro, whatever. But, yeah, I think that would work. I think they need at least one more program to pump, for angles to discuss and for, to expose it more so more people would know about the product and be able to intelligently discuss it with Bob and Jeremy.
Jeff Jarrett.
Oh, wow. Again, like I mentioned before with Sting, wrestling is unfortunately populated by some guys that at times can be rather unsavory, to put it bluntly. But Jeff Jarrett is one of the good men in wrestling. I'll give you. Can I tell you a quick story?
Sure.
I've mentioned my mom 3 times now. She's going to have to write me a check. But she passed away of breast cancer, and she fought it for 18 months. And we found out about her breast cancer about 4 months before Nitro went under. And Jeff's wife, boy, I hope it's okay to say this, Jeff's wife had breast cancer a while back. And I was at Nitro one afternoon, and my mom had just been diagnosed a couple of months before, and I knew about Jeff's wife, so I'm on the phone with my mom, and I see Jeff sitting in one of the chairs in the arena, not doing anything really, and I said, Jeff, this is my mom on the phone with, and I had told him earlier about her breast cancer and asked his advice on some stuff, and I said, will you just talk to her and pump her up a little bit? She's kind of down. And he talked to my mom for like 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And told her what to expect with the treatment and, not to give up and, to say your prayers and everything. That's what kind of guy Jeff Jarrett is.
Wow.
I would follow him into battle anywhere, and I would gladly take a bullet for him.
Wow.
Jerry Jarrett.
Jerry Jarrett, wow. I've only met him once at TNA. I see him, but he's so busy I don't want to, get in his way. I've met him, very nice man, but you've got to give him credit for, if nothing else, you credit Jerry Jarrett for being a tremendous judge of talent. When you look at the talent that he brought through his Memphis promotion over the years, he knew who was good, and he knew how to get bad talent over. I mean, if you're a good talent, Jerry Jarrett could make you better. If you were bad, he could make you good.
Mark Madden.
Wow, Mark Madden. One of the most full-blown, four-alarm, funny guys I've ever hung around. The type of guy who could read names out of the phone book and crack me up.
Josh Matthews.
Josh Matthews, you mentioned earlier about some of the independent guys that TNA should bring in. Josh has been there for a couple of shows, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if, when we cycle in some new talent to TNA, that Josh Matthews will probably be in there. Oh, wait a minute, you're talking about Josh Matthews. I'm talking about Joey Matthews. Gosh, where is my head? Josh Matthews is
the tough enough kid.
Yeah, the tough enough. Boy, I'm sorry. I know you're thinking like, what the hell is he talking about? I'm thinking Joey Matthews. If Joey Matthews was on the list, put all that down for Joey, who's a good talent. But Josh Matthews, I don't get to see too much of him. I've heard the show a couple of times, but I couldn't comment. I just haven't seen or heard enough of him.
Charles Wright.
I'm sorry?
Charles Wright.
Charles Wright. It came out when he was the Godfather character, but until then, people really never got an idea of how funny he could be and how entertaining he is. And I haven't seen Charles in a long, long time, but my experiences with him are all positive. And again, we in the Global Wrestling Federation, when he was the Soul Taker,
right.
He was we knew what his personality was like, and that character was about 180 degrees from what he was really like. And the Godfather although he's not a pimp, he doesn't dress that way. That character, that's really how he is. That's how he is to hang around.
Arn Anderson.
One of the best ever. When you look at what makes a good wrestler, abs aren't on the list. Hair isn't on the list. All of that stuff that's based on looks, that's not even at the bottom of the list. It's not on the list. It's psychology and ability to make people not have to suspend belief because they think real. And me included, I thought Arn Anderson was real.
Jim Ross.
Wow. The best active announcer and one of the best ever.
Joe Pedicino.
The reason I'm here.
If I could jump in with one, my favorite character ever, Rasta the Voodoo Man.
Now, maybe you can help me out on this. Is Rasta, the guy that played Rasta, is he the one that does the Office linebacker character on that commercial?
I hope so, because that's what I thought it was when I first saw
I
it.
think that's the same guy.
I thought so too. I just love the name.
That was one of those that did not work. Not his fault, but I just remember we did a gimmick where we were interviewing John Horton, Craig Johnson and I were interviewing Rasta, and I think he touched his own hand, and I dropped the mic or something like some kind of voodoo spell he had cast, made me drop the interview mic. Oh boy. Yeah. Well, you roll your dice and you take your chance, I guess. That didn't turn up too good.
The last one I have is Vince McMahon.
I'm sorry?
Vince McMahon.
Who now?
Vince McMahon.
Oh, okay. Gosh, I just couldn't understand that one. Oh,
Sorry.
Vince McMahon. Wow. I know everybody I'm saying wow on. I've never done the word association thing. Vince McMahon, ruthless, in the best possible way. He refuses to fail, and even when he fails, he convinces himself he succeeded. And
James, do you have any more?
No, he was still going.
no, that was it. I mean, you look at the stuff that Vince has failed at, the World Bodybuilding Federation, the XFL, the Ray Leonard, Donnie Alon fight, No Holds Barred, the stuff that have all, really just bombed. And Vince has come out smelling like a rose every time because he's learned from that experience.
How about Bret Hart?
Bret Hart has been paid the ultimate compliment by me, and that is when my wife was pregnant 3.5 years ago. The deal we had with each other was that if it was a girl, she could name the child. If it was a boy, I could name the child. No questions asked.
Uh-huh.
And it ended up being a girl, and my daughter's name is Darby Renee. That was my wife's choice. But the name for a boy would have been Bret Christopher, after Bret Hart and Chris Benoit.
Wow. Dan, do you have any others?
None I can think of. No.
Wow, well, we can't thank you enough for spending this much time with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I've done a lot of these interviews over the years, and this one has really made me think about a lot of stuff, a little inner soul searching there. I appreciate it. It's not like, what Sting really likes stuff. I'll answer those too, but I like being made to think, and you guys made me think. I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's what we do, and a lot of people have complained about that lately, that we get too in depth. But I personally, that's what I want to be doing. So I love it.
That's what I want to listen to.
That's what I want to hear too. So that's what I ask. We really appreciate it, though.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Any messages for your fans before we leave?
Just keep watching TNA. I mean, it's a great show, and the future of wrestling, the guys who are going to be big stars in this sport in 5, 10, 15 years are in TNA right now.
Stay tuned for more from the interactive interview.
Enjoying what you're hearing? Be sure and check out WrestlingEpicenter.com on social media at Facebook.com/WrestlingEpicenter, on Twitter at James Epicenter, and of course, WrestlingEpicenter.com for 24-hour news updates, our interview archives, and all the other information you've come to expect from the Wrestling Epicenter.
This is Stephen Prazak, and you're in the Wrestling Epicenter.
Welcome back. What an interview that was with Scott Hudson. What'd you think, Dan?
Really enjoyed that. It was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, Scott's a real gentleman off the air as well. That should be the first thing we mention. He's really a gentleman, and he kept telling us repetitively off the air that if we want to talk to him more, that he'd be willing to do it. So, I mean, that was great. I mean, it's always great when you have a guest that just wants to be there. You know,
exactly.
when they want it, when they really are in the mood to be talking, that's always the best thing for the show and everything. So, I mean, and he just it didn't take him any time to warm up. He was as great when he first started as he was throughout the entire interview.
Oh yeah.
So he knew what we wanted, and he was talking about it. And once again, another guest compliments us on our questions.
Very good. Well done, James, because they were all you. So.
Yeah, I wrote them.
I threw a couple in.
Yeah. Yeah, you threw a couple in, but most of them were done by me. But I'm not trying to put myself over here. What I'm actually trying to do is got a couple emails of people saying that I go too in depth. Not from guests, from listeners saying that I go too in depth, and I should try to cut down on how in depth I do. For some reason, I don't know why they would say this, but Scott Hudson said he enjoyed it that way, and I get the feeling a lot of guests do indeed enjoy it. And I'm not going to change my style.
Nope, we will not, indeed. We hope to endeavour to help Scott in the future as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah.
You have a couple projects that you're trying to get going on with him.
Indeed.
Yes, indeed.
So, look at the space, basically the deal. One thing I also like to say is how nice of TNA it was to let us have him, and just things like that, really.
Yeah, TNA, very nice to give him to us. What bothers me right now is that traditionally the announcers don't get as many downloads, but this interview, Mike Tenay's interviews, David Penzer's interviews, probably didn't get that many looks, but all three of them are great interviews. So if you're listening to this now and you haven't heard those other two interviews, go back and listen, and Goldilocks as well. There was another great interview, and not quite as long on that one, but that was another fun interview. So, right.
It is a shame, but it's the way of the world. And as long as we keep attempting to promote the legitimacy of the interviews, I mean, I legitimately liked some of the interviews, so I would have made the recaps, either the teaser or whatnot, legitimately sound like I enjoyed it, because I did.
Right.
Whereas I might not put as much effort into an interview for the teaser and whatnot that I didn't like.
And I know a couple that you didn't like. I know at least one that you didn't like, so.
So I probably didn't put quite as much effort into a couple.
Yeah.
But, still.
Yeah. I was looking on the internet the other day. I just typed in the interactive interview and just reading all the weird, all the sites that come up on Google. I don't know. It seems like the one that people talked about the most, at least without you posting it, without that you posted personally. There we go. That you didn't I can't say it again. Posted personally. There we go. The one that people talked about the most was the Glenn Gilberti and New Jack one. Well, probably because New Jack threatened to kill Paul Heyman, and probably because he flipped out at me, if I was to take a guess. But I think that's probably the reason.
It got a fair amount it got more downloads than it should have done.
You think so?
It doesn't necessarily the quality of both of them. I mean, because it was both of them put together, that obviously will help.
Yeah, but what I mean is, that's the one that people talked about the most. I was like reading a couple articles about people talking about it. I'm like, wow, really? I thought that was pretty impressive.
Hope you get the links so I can see them when I get the internet again.
Just go to Google. It's on there. It comes up as, recently the interactive interview did something, it says something to this effect. I'm just paraphrasing from what I remember. Did a TNA tribute, and they had Glenn Gilberti and New Jack on, and they talked about all that New Jack said, more than Gilberti. Well, Gilberti was kind of a dull interview.
You thought I didn't think it was that bad.
I think it was dull. I think it was dull simply because Disco is such a funny guy. And I know how funny he can be. and for some reason I just get the feeling that he wasn't in the mood at the time. So I think if we would have done it at a different time, he would have probably been more energetic and more funny. Like, because, I mean, yeah, if you ever heard him on WCW Live, there was times when the censors told him not to come on because he was just too out there. And, plus then again, he got along real well with Jeremy Borash, and he didn't even know me, so who knows?
I don't know. Yeah, so as I kind of touched on, just kind of there. I don't have the internet at the moment, do I?
Uh-huh.
So it's making, obviously, updating the introductory interview pretty hard, but obviously by the time this interview's heard, I will have the internet, because I would have to in order to get the interview online, but at the time of recording, I mean, even at the time of recording the interview, I pretty much didn't have the internet, so...
Right.
Long winding road, but of course I'm no longer in my old accommodation, I'm in my new accommodation.
Right.
Which is not quite as luxury, but independence and freedom. All those things that I craved.
Sounds like fun to me.
Had. But it's good. It'll be easier with the internet because obviously, because I'm sharing with two people at the moment, which is fair enough, they're friends and that lot. But can't contact my other friends I had back at home quite as easily, so the internet will obviously will help to help me contact them. So.
Absolutely.
The problem with missing them, but one thing I have while I quickly scoot up off my bed, one thing I did find, which I found, that was music, one thing I did find when I was going through my computer was something that I haven't even shown you yet.
What's that?
So, because while I was talking to you a minute ago, just before we started recording, about things that I've found on my computer and stuff, and the fact that I'm getting a new computer and whatnot, and I found this. So, here we go. It's just first listen to everybody, including James. So, here we go. Hope you can hear it. I got mail! Yay!
Do that again.
You heard it?
Yeah, do that one more time.
Okie dokie, here we go. This isn't James, this is from something I found on my computer. I got mail! Yay! I got mail! Yay! There we go.
And now everybody knows what I was doing.
Exactly.
Comedy Central's Crank Yankers.
I see.
That's where the guy comes from.
I see.
And he calls the guy up and he goes, I got mail! Yay! I got mail! Yay!
Interesting.
I actually did that to somebody too. After I heard it, I actually called somebody up and I found a you got mail wave sound.
And
I just kept going, you got mail! Yay! I got mail! Yay! They obviously hadn't seen it and they were just like really silent on the other end.
I think they'd be silent whether they'd seen it or not.
What?
It's not exactly the sort of thing you'd expect. You pick up the phone like, hello? Maybe a telemarketer, maybe a friend saying, what do you do? You got mail, yay, I got mail, yay. Yeah, not
Somebody prank called, I think it was another show, if I was to take a guess on who did it. Somebody prank called me the other day.
Oh, yeah?
And do you ever see the movie Home Alone?
No.
Basically in that movie he takes a sound, like, I guess it's a tape of a movie, and sets it up.
Oh, sorry.
Sets it up like You a Dirty Animal and things like that.
Oh, yes, I'm with you. Yeah.
Well, somebody called me up and they had some kind of a gangster movie on, like an old Italian mafia movie, and he's like, have you ever watched pornographic movies? And then this is like the Italian guy, and I said, no. Liar, whore! And it was from a movie, obviously. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, this is pretty cool that you don't like me enough to do this to me. And then they put on another sound clip, and I'm like, okay. So, I don't know. I found it funny.
Strange.
I found it strange, but I found it funny, though, because it was kind of cool. Kind of cool that somebody hates me enough to actually do that to me.
When I get calls like that on the cell phone that I'm talking on now, I normally have them traced nowadays because it's just I find it interesting to know who that is.
Who does it end up being? Did you ever find out anybody?
Oh, it ends up being different random people who are just obviously bored or whatnot. Or occasionally you get weird numbers of just people who are just calling a random number on their phone, just like typing in. Say,
The only time was about maybe 3 years ago. I was really, really, really bored, so I decided I'm going to call a health club as Captain Fat. And
Arg! I am Captain Fats. How are you?
It's really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I've done it before as well, so I can't say.
They I know it's quite immature, but they traced me and they called me back. And I was like, uh-oh. I was like, hello? And he was like, did you just call this number? No. Maybe my son did. Oh, well, tell him to stop it. Oh, okay. He won't call you again. I don't know.
I did do one thing wrong once. I had 2 numbers on my cell phone, and one number was a house phone number for someone, and one number was a cell phone number for someone. So I've dialed the number, gone to the name in the name book, sorry, and clicked the call. And before I realised that I dialed the home number to the cell phone number, I had this girl's mum pick up, and she said hello. I'm like, so she froze. She went, hello. Hello, is this you? I stood the name. I was like, so I hung up, and I quickly tried to ring it back, so that she couldn't do the callback thing and find out the number. I quickly tried to ring it back, but I didn't ring it back quick enough, because she managed to call me back before I rang her. And my response, then saying, like explaining how it wasn't me on the phone, was, no, this number didn't just call it. And she said, well, it did, because I just rang you back. I said, but no, it wasn't this phone. This phone's been in my pocket. And she said, oh, but this phone's rang. I was like, oh, it must have slipped off and rang you. Like, oh, blah, blah. Of course, this girl's name's about halfway down my phone list, so it couldn't have happened. But her mum wasn't too happy. I'm not sure why.
Why don't you just say that you couldn't hear anything on the other line? So you hung up and you decided to call back.
If you want, I'll hang up this call and just quickly ring her and say, by the way, remember that 6 months ago when I called you? She'd like to explain. I can give an excuse for the past 6 months. That's a good one now.
No, I've left messages for some people that I didn't mean to leave the message. Like, I hear the voicemail come on and I go, shit. And I hang up and I realize, wait a minute, I heard the beep before I said, oh shit. So I leave a message on the machine. Shit. And I'm like, great. And now they can recognize my voice now, and they're going to be mad at me, and, shit. Right, exactly, shit. So, couple topics of discussion that I brought up with Scott Hudson was Roddy Piper. And one of the things that Asylum and I just started a conversation about, and Cowboy chimed in on it, and I think Dinner, whatever the hell his name, something JW. What?
Diners Joe.
Yeah, JWO something, right. Diners JWO or something like that, right?
Even I don't know that, unfortunately. I think it's Dimer. D-I-M, Dimer, S-K-J-O, I think.
Something like that, yeah, something along that lines. Anyway, he hates me, so he just disagrees with me no matter what I say, it seems like.
Yep.
But we were all talking about how Piper looked, and one of the things we discussed was he looked like a broken man, according to Asylum. You know how Jake the Snake Roberts looked in the Beyond the Mat video? Yeah.
Yep.
How he just kind of looked like, half what he used to be. Not weight or size-wise, just emotionally.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, and I have to say that he didn't look as energetic as usual. At the same rate, he also came out with blue lights on, like dark blue lights on, and there was a stool in the ring, and he was sitting on the stool while he was talking. And then he eventually picked the stool up and threw it to the floor while he called Vince McMahon a stupid shit, or something like that. So he was flipping out against Vince. See, now this bothers me, though. I like Piper a lot, and I hope he realizes that when he hears this, if he hears this. But at any rate, he already said this kind of things about Vince. He knew what an asshole he was when he went back there. I mean, he knew it before he went back. Why did he go back? That's what I want to know.
And hopefully when we interview him, we'll find out.
I want to actually ask that question flat out. And I don't care if he gets angry with it. I want to hear the answer to this one. I want to say, you badmouthed Vince in your book. You were on TNA, you badmouthed Vince. And then you went back and worked for him. Why? I just want to know. I'm curious to find out why. If it was a money decision, yeah, great. That makes sense. But otherwise, why? That's all I want to know.
Could be to regain his former glory.
Could be.
I still remember when he returned, because I was speaking to his webmaster all the way throughout the WrestleMania. And I was saying, oh, yeah, it's not been bad, not been bad. And he said, oh, wouldn't it be funny if Roddy returned tonight? I said, yeah, like hell that would happen. That's hilarious. And he said, oh, wouldn't it be funny though? And I said, oh, yeah, it would be funny, blah, blah, blah. We go and interfere in Hogan with his Vince or whatever. Yeah, it'd be funny, yeah, hilarious. And then it happened, and I was like, you knew that? And he's like, no, why, what happened? I think he's pretty sarcastic. I mean, obviously, he probably couldn't have guessed that, 1 in a million chance. But he said, no, why, what happened? What happened? No, I haven't got a clue. You know, why, what? So it was, if he really didn't know, that was very, very spooky, but I've got this small hunch that he did.
Well, that happened to me. It happens to me, though, because, like, it happened to me the last couple of days, actually, talking to a few people from the forums. Like, I'll make a reference that they make to a friend in private, and I'll make the same reference to them in another private message to the person, and that private message on the forum, and they're just like, are you, like, stalking me? Because I just talked about this before. And I'm like, no, I just said it.
Well, how are the forums going?
Forums are going well. What?
I haven't been there since, like, I moved, obviously, because I didn't know anything that thing.
Forums seem to be going well. I figured out how to check my private messages, even though I didn't know they were on.
Oh, dear.
So apparently I can...
I turned them on just before I left.
Did you?
Yeah, I'm nice like that.
Okay, well, I got a couple of them already from Every Customer Welcome.
Oh, okay. Saying what?
Nothing nice. Oh, he don't like me. I gotta talk to JC on the forums, and he seems to say that I've made a complete 180. Says he likes me now. So that was nice.
Good.
That's good. And JC's on my side.
Okay.
Kelly responded to something I wrote on the forums, but she was kind of... It looked to me like she was trying to prevent a possible James vs. Kelly feud part, I don't know, 67 now. So she was just trying to, like, make sure that didn't happen, which was good. She's a nice girl. I don't want anything bad to happen. I don't want to have another fight with her. Cause, frankly, I think she can beat the crap out of me. She's a tough one.
I wouldn't disagree. About her being tough one.
Yeah, but then again, you're the one who said a couple of things to her about her leaving, her deciding, I can't talk today, but her deciding to leave. Yeah, I don't know. I guess she didn't decide to leave then. I'm glad, though, because she's, up there. What is she, a legend now, or high card, or main eventer, or something like that?
I think it's superstar, I think she is.
Superstar?
But, yeah, I'm glad she didn't leave, but, I mean, if she had it done, then it would have been her decision, because I do have the open door policy of no one forces you to stick around.
Right.
I mean, it'd be nice if you did, but no one forces you.
I'm glad Rick Bear is back on the forum, so.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
He was needed.
Rick Clark, former TII, recap guest.
And of course, he'll be back on again. He'll be back on again, and we wish him the best of luck with everything, his endeavors.
Definitely. What's a Rick? God, there was something else I wanted to bring up, but I can't remember what.
We were talking about other things happening at TNA.
Oh, yes, that's great. The debut of Jamal.
Debut of Jamal last week, a week ago. Of course, we're taping.
During that, during the whole segment with Jamal debuting and Fiaki and Eva Sedillo, I realized quite how much they can deal into a complete jobber.
It certainly seems that way, yeah. To be perfectly honest with you, to avoid seeing a certain person involved in that match, I actually got up and left. It ain't D'Lo. I don't have a problem with D'Lo, and I like Siaki, so it doesn't take a genius to figure out who the other person involved was. But to avoid it, I got up and left. And I went to the bathroom, and I got myself a soda. And then I came on the computer for a few minutes. And when I went back in, they were on the next match already. So I never saw them all in the WWF, because I didn't watch Raw. And I haven't seen him yet in TNA. So this guy can bump right into me tomorrow, and I would not have a clue who the hell he was. I still don't know who he was.
And hopefully you could be an upcoming guest on the Interactive.
Right, so you probably have to carry that one quite heavily, yeah.
Because you can't actually even pronounce the nickname, can you?
I don't even know what it is.
See, that'll be the small problem.
Yeah, I know.
I might even have to do the introduction for once.
Yeah, I know.
Our special guest. Yes, would you like to take the next?
ECMO, isn't it? ECMO?
Hey, we got there.
Did we get it?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You got that one.
I got it! Yay! I got it!
Yay.
ECMO! Yay! We're going to talk to ECMO! Yay!
Oh, I'm going to try and attempt. No, I'm not. I was going to try and attempt something, but I'm not going to.
What are you trying to do?
Just going to try and do an impression, but I'm never going to bother. I was thinking kind of, just... I'm not trying it, but I found myself accidentally doing a Vince Russo impression the other day. I was going to attempt it, but I thought, no, I felt better off it. All the people from New York listen to the show will lambast me completely. A British guy that does do a New York accent is not going to happen. Not on this radio show anyway.
You know who sounded like Vince Russo? Evan Ginsberg.
Yes, I was about to say. I was just thinking, I know it's a guest, thinking, which one was it? Yeah, I could.
Evan Ginsberg sounded a lot like Vince Russo. And you can hear Evan Ginsberg on the Don Callis interview. We have it actually set up as a recap, even though it's not really a recap. It's an interview in and of itself. In the archives, it's listed as its own interview, but it's part of the Don Callis file. So give it a listen.
Correct. One thing I was listening back to because obviously I was mentioning cleaning up my computer.
Right.
And I was listening back to all the things in my folder, my music folder I had.
Uh-huh.
And it's basically all the things that I played through Kazaa, just like links to them on my computer.
Right.
I just double clicked I saw bull.rm. I thought I must be Bobby Cannon energy. I haven't listened to that thing in ages. I wonder how it sounds compared to how it is now. I know you said before it sounds a hell of a lot different. It sounds a hell of a lot better now. And if you weren't off right, the whole entrance is different, and it's very, very, very strange.
How does it sound?
It's just,
And do you think we've gotten better?
oh yeah, we've gotten much better.
You think so? I was listening to that's another one we have to put up soon. I think we should just pop this one up in the archives at some point. The Bob Ryder one. I listened to that the other day.
Oh yeah.
And granted, we're still good. We're still good right from the start, but I think we're starting to develop a little more chemistry during the interviews. I think we're starting to learn to deviate a little bit from the questions.
Yeah.
And pick up on if they say something that we need to ask, then you ask it, things like that. And we're getting a little bit better on not stepping on one another for who asks what question. So we're really starting to pick up a lot. And in time, we're going to have the chemistry.
It'd be like an early Don West and an early TNA partnership.
Yeah, except which one of us is Don West?
I'll be Don West.
Okay.
I've got the attempt at the facial hair.
I like Don West a lot.
I love his shirts. I want to know who his costume designer is.
Yeah, he's got great shirts. I like the guy a lot. The only thing I have a problem with him about is occasionally you hope that he gets a move name right. I like him a lot, but I'm saying, at first, this was especially at the first, not as much now, because now he's starting to learn some of the moves, but at first he called a suplex an oh man. It's like he did this. All right, Sonny Siaki suplexes Chris Devine. This is just going back a year. And he goes, oh man. And Mike Tenay has to jump in and say, suplex! So, That was my Mike Tenay calling a high spot impression.
I'll agree. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's getting there now. He's getting there now, so he's learning some of the moves, especially the finishers he's learning, so he's doing good.
One fact about Mike Tenay, just random fact. Random Mike Tenay fact for this recap.
Okay.
He is the top-rated announcer on the EWR simulator game.
On the what?
EWR Wrestling Simulator game.
Ah. Oh, is that the game you were telling us about last time?
It was indeed. It is indeed.
Ah, okay. He is a great in it.
Sitting here without the internet, when I get bored, for time, downtime. One of the things I've been doing is playing that game, and it is immensely addictive. It really is.
Do you know what game I find addictive?
What's that?
WWE No Mercy for Nintendo 64. I don't know why, but that game still is played in my house once a day. I'm not a big gamer. I'm not a big gamer, but when I start playing that game, I'm playing it for about an hour, at least.
I wasn't always too fond of No Mercy. I liked WrestleMania. And I really loved Revenge for that.
WCW NWO Revenge? Yeah. That was the best. That was probably the, well, that was basically an updated version of WCW versus NWO World Tour.
Yeah.
And that one, when you go back to that compared to what it became, it's like, well, it's primitive compared to what it became. And Revenge was great. Revenge I played for 2 years straight, and I kept finding new moves. WrestleMania was cool because you had for the first time, the create a wrestler thing. When you can actually create somebody and you can edit them. No Mercy, I wasn't that fond of it at first. Because it's a little different than WrestleMania, but not much.
Yeah.
But I now love it. I don't know why.
I played at the PlayStation Experience thing over here. I played about a month or so ago now, I think, ish. It would take a bit. I played the SmackDown 5 demo.
SmackDown 5, wow.
You could have certain characters you could choose and certain you couldn't. There are only 4 characters you could choose from the male section were Triple H, Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, and Goldberg. And so I played against a friend, and I was Goldberg, and he was Angle, I think. And it really, really is very spectacular. Graphics are really good, and the gameplay is way improved.
Is it?
I really enjoyed the first SmackDown game. 2, 3, and 4 I played for a bit. Bought them all, but sold them all pretty quick, because they didn't really hold my captivation totally. But, 5's looking very, very good.
Now, is this a wrestling game, or is it more arcadish? Because I know SmackDown Shut Your Mouth was slightly arcadish.
Bang the buttons so hard you can type thing.
Yeah. I don't really like arcade wrestling. I like, pure wrestling games.
Oh, yeah. They move back to a sort of a wrestling build. It's definitely got a better match engine by far.
What are any particular kind of matches that you were able to tell about?
No.
Like, I heard that might have, I don't have a PlayStation 2, but I might get one. If this is true, I heard it has, like, elimination chamber and things like that.
Indeed, that's what I heard.
That's what you heard. Now, if they have that, and they actually do a good job with it, that'd be cool. I actually have a GameCube, and I know WrestleMania 19 came out, but every review I've had says it's really arcadey. I might go over to Blockbuster, which is quite literally I can jump over my fence and be there in about 2 minutes, because it's like right in back of my house.
It's quite good actually, because same here, same in my old house, same in my new house. It's good.
Yeah, so once I might go over there and rent it and see if it's any good, because I'm not going to pay $50 if it sucks. So.
I tell you one thing about my new location. It's quite bad.
What?
Right at the end of my road, it's a one-way road, and if you go right to the end, there is a huge slot machine place.
Like a casino?
We know how much Daniel likes to gamble.
Casino, though?
It's not an actual casino. It's just like a room filled with loads and loads of slot machines.
Ah. Well, that's kind of what a casino is.
Yeah, casino's slightly different in that it's got like roulette and things like that. So there's a proper casino down by the quay, down by the seaside, which is about a 5-minute drive.
How far from you from the sea?
I'm about a 5-minute drive from the sea. So I'm down on the south coast of Portsmouth.
Wow.
Right near the sea. Moving from London.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Sounds nice to me.
Very nice. Oh, dear.
Might have to visit.
And I was going to say one other thing. If we got that, and we all know how much I like to gamble, because with my poker and stuff like that.
Yes, there's been several interviews that Dan's been playing poker in the middle of.
There's one interview where you asked the first 3 questions, and for some reason I just started to ask the same questions again, because I was playing poker and wasn't paying attention.
What was that?
Oh, I can't remember. Is that one where you asked the question, the first 2 questions, and I presume that we was on the 3rd question, we was on the 4th one. So he just finished off answering the 3rd question, and I asked it again.
I think it was Demon. Might have been Demon.
I don't think it was Demon.
Because I can't remember. Somebody said he just asked that.
Yeah.
And I had to cut that. I can't remember who it was though. Oh well. I cut it up though, so nobody heard it. I don't think anyway.
Until now. And I reveal my poker secrets.
I thought it was Demon. I really thought it was Demon.
It could have been, but we can't ever actually find out, which is a shame.
Well, if I might have the tape still, but I don't know. I tape over everything. Okay.
As you found with the Mean Do You Know problem we had.
Yeah, but we found a copy of it though, which was good.
Oh yeah, thanks to enter on 3. He said he's so glad that a Viking can help the show, which is
yes.
Indeed, he did help. So of course when we was transferring all the stuff to the new server, which is now online, woohoo!
Yep.
When we was transferring all the stuff to the new server, unfortunately that got lost somehow. I really don't know how, because I backed it all up onto my computer, and then even though I had everything already, I still backed it all up, and then I moved it across. And somehow it got deleted, and it wasn't in my recycle bin. So I know I hadn't deleted it recently, and it wasn't on your computer, and it wasn't on tape.
I tried to download it from right near the end, right when we were getting kicked off, but for some reason it just wouldn't download. So I don't know. Maybe there was a problem with the file all along.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to download that one. I downloaded most of the shows anyway, but that was one that I knew I had a problem with. I'm like, oh, that's one I want to have up just in case. Because it's a name.
It's a shame the flight was down so long, but...
Yeah, but we're back up now.
Indeed.
So, what else were we going to talk about?
I really don't know. The one thing, the final thing I do want to talk about before we wrap this one up.
Oh, I got one thing I want to talk about before I can jump in.
Oh, good.
Unforgiven. Did you see it?
No. Don't talk to me about it.
Oh, you getting a tape of it or something?
Yep.
Okay, we'll talk to you about it then. All I'll say is this. I'm not going to give you any results because I want to ruin it for my partner here. But I thought it was a good show. Well, fairly good. There were some matches I could take or leave, and there's certain spots in the match that I thought were pretty sloppy. I thought the main event was pretty weak, the way it turned out being. Not in results, just in the way it was presented. It was very weak. It was like I thought I was in the middle of a match, and all of a sudden it was over. I mean, it like lacked a little psychology in my book. I finally saw the Spike incident. What?
With Goldberg, you can't expect much psychology.
Yeah, but he had a lot more psychology in WCW. I mean, he was slower, and it made the crowd explode more. The crowd didn't seem all that much into Goldberg. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I don't think there was much into him as they used to be.
Oh, doesn't seem.
What else was there?
Spike incident.
The Spike incident. Oh yeah. On the forum, somebody said that the Dudley Boys and La Resistance tag match is better than anything TNA could put on, which was based on something that they never even saw. and all I can say is you're not actually supposed to hurt the guy you're in the ring with. And if you think that was cool, well, that wasn't cool. They weren't actually supposed to do that. I think he was supposed to go through the table, and they missed it completely. Because I can't see anybody deciding, yeah, why don't you drop me over the top rope? I'm going to smack my hand on the back of a table. That sounds like fun. I think you're supposed to go.
I've seen still pictures of the incident, but I haven't actually seen it.
It's sick. You can hear a thud. It's like you hear his head hit the edge of the table, and then he hits the floor. It's like, ow. I was watching. I was like, that's not fun. No.
Maybe you can capture it for me or something.
Somehow.
Was it replayed on Unforgiven?
On Unforgiven, yeah. At the beginning of the match, they have the sound effects in slow motion, so you can hear the thud, like, instead hitting the table.
Alright, I figured I'll get to see that then.
Right.
Because I think probably by the time this goes up, I would have seen Unforgiven. But by the same rate, obviously right now I haven't. So.
It wasn't a bad show. Wasn't bad, it wasn't great. Could take or leave it.
What do you think was the match of the night, would you say?
Match of the night? For the wrong reasons, I thought it was Shane McMahon against Kane. But I honestly didn't really care about that match. But I just thought that the effort that the guys gave out there was pretty good. I'm amazed at how hard Shane McMahon works, considering he absolutely does not have to. He could sit down on Daddy's money, but he works pretty hard. I give him credit for that much, at least. He must just love it like I'm sure I would if I was out there. But that's actually the only reason he kills himself for it.
So the couple of things that I want to say just before we wrap up are check out the B.G. James and Don Callis interviews if you haven't already.
Absolutely. Great interviews.
If you're relatively new to the show, then here's how you submit questions. You go to the contact page on the navigation bar on the main site, theinteractiveinterview.com.
Or you can go to 3swforums.com, 3swforums.com.
Not 3swforums.com.
Right. F-O-R-U-M-S. Why? Because we're F-O-R-U. Yay. Yay, we're for you, yay!
Or you can access the forums by clicking the forums link on the navigation bar on theinteractiveinterview.com. That's how you submit your questions. You get your name on the show when I get it right, which isn't too often.
Right.
But now and again I get it right, so it's good.
And if I can jump in with something, and I posted this earlier, and I was polite about it, so don't panic when you hear what I posted. But I was very polite about it. But if you hear the show and you want to post feedback on it, go into the 3swforums.com because we're not getting enough feedback lately, so I want to get some more feedback. But I was very polite about it. Don't panic. I wasn't cursing off anybody.
Good.
It was nice.
Good.
I've not been banned yet.
Also, if you'd like to check out the past shows, we're one of the few shows that allows you to do that without having to search through hordes and hordes and hordes of unimaginable text to find it, and we do it for free.
Right.
So you can check those out in the archive section on the website that I've just plugged 2 times. Have a guess where it is, theinteractiveinterview.com.
Absolutely. We gotta get that, that guy with the voice. Theinteractiveinterview.com.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'll see if I can. I was gonna look into that, wasn't I?
What? Yeah, but how could you when you don't have a computer or a phone or anything?
Yeah.
So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll get back on track on a couple days.
And that does remind me, actually, I have to go and now inquire to my housemates about whether we have a TV license or not. A TV license, Jack.
What's a TV license?
It's something you have to have in order to legally run a TV.
You have to have a license to watch a TV.
Mhm. Unfortunately, so.
And what is the test for something like this?
The test. It's not a test. It's a
So you don't need to test a test like you do to get your driver's license?
Oh no. God knows, that'd be very funny.
Yes, it would.
See if you're
Capable of watching television, yeah.
Yeah, capable to watch it.
And what is the fine if you don't have a license?
a lot more than the actual licensed fees.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised to hear that.
And they come around with the detectors that can go through. They can just drive down a road, and they can just pick up which houses don't have them.
I hope you're kidding.
Very clever. So.
You're kidding me, right?
No, I'm serious.
I've never heard of that before.
Completely serious. Oh, any Englishman.
We're very off on America about how we do cable and television and things, because like half the people have illegal boxes. So it's like, you know, I mean, not only do you not need a card, but you can do illegal things with it. So I mean, it doesn't really matter. Right?
Crikey.
Crikey.
I think we're all legit over here, but.
Yep.
I know you can run it differently, but. God knows how.
So, is there anything?
So, the only thing I want to say is check out the archive section and whatnot. And upcoming shows that have been recorded are Big Vito.
Harley Race. Big Vito, Harley Race, Asia. There's a couple others, I think. And maybe Sid. Yeah. And I can't remember who else. Can you?
Not off the top of my head.
That might be it.
I think that is it for upcoming shows.
And upcoming guests include The Wall.
Wait, we can't say one of them.
Why?
One of them is a surprise.
Jerry Toot, a.k.a. The Wall, a.k.a. Malice, and Roddy Piper, if that ever happens.
Exactly. Also hope to get Killer Kowalski on the show.
Killer Kowalski we had confirmed, but for some reason that just never happened.
He's nearly 8 years old, so.
Is he?
We'll allow that. Yes.
Oh, all right. Well, don't worry, we'll get him.
We appreciate Evan Ginsberg helping us out with that one.
Evan Ginsberg is a class act. Check out WrestlingThenAndNow.com.
For sure. And also check out the new Look Disc album, so what did it say?
Don't do that.
I had a feeling you'd say that.
No, don't do that. Well, what I got to say is this. How can the WWE say, okay, now a theme song theoretically is to define your character and define what your company's about, right? Crack addict?
I know where you're going with this, yeah.
All right. That's all I have to say.
New album, for some reason.
Maybe they realize it sucks. I don't know. I haven't heard it. I don't actually want to hear it, though. So, I don't know. There's something about just how fake they are. I mean, and Fred Durst saying how he wants to kill him. Oh, shut the fuck up. You want to kill yourself. Do it and get it over with. I don't want sympathy from this son of a bitch. I don't like the son of a bitch. And he's just an obnoxious little pig that I want to slap the shit out of. And he comes off and he acts like he's all upset about the Great White Concert where that started the fire at Rhode Island. You don't act like you give a shit. If you gave a shit, you would realize that these bands belong on the radio, and you don't. So don't act like you give a shit, you little fuck. I'm sorry. He's one guy I just can't stand, Fred Durst. He's right up there with Kurt Cobain on people that I just can't stand. And now Dan's frightened.
You certainly shut me up.
Yes.
I'll go sit in the corner now.
What?
I'm going to go sit in the corner.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to frighten you. You sound like a dog.
Interview. Bye-bye. Bye-bye from my cell phone.
All right, stay tuned for more from the interactive interview. We'll be back next time. And Dan?
Yes?
I love you, man.
Bye.
I love you, Dan. You okay?
I'm fine.
Okay. Best wishes out to every listener. And one in particular, you know who you are, but I'm not allowed to say anything. So best wishes to everybody out there, okay? Talk to you soon. And Dan, are you all right?
I'm fine. Let's go.
All right, I'm
That's a wrap.
actually worried that I'm frightened you over there.
No.
Okay.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Just one joke I want to get in just quickly.
Okay, go ahead.
There's a product, there's like a food product you can buy over here called the Mexican chicken wrap. #1 in Mexico. Hey. Hey.
Hey.
Can't laugh. Hey, please.
Hey.
Laugh. Can you get it?
Huh?
Jeez, kill my joke. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.